Next year's Olympics and Paralympics have boasted of being the most inclusive ever, and tens of thousands of disabled visitors will be descending on the capital next year. Now, accessible hotel rooms will be top of many people's wish lists, but serious doubts are being cast over the suitability of many of the rooms London will have to offer come 2012. Martin Sibley went to find out more.
London is an incredible city. It's no wonder that so many people want to come and visit every single day of the year. To accommodate this, our capital boasts thousands of amazing hotels, the majority of which are great for most. But if, like me, you need a few adaptations to get in and use a hotel room, well, things become a little bit more difficult.
There's that fear of, well, what happens if I can't get up to my room?
Can't even get to my bed, bathrooms.
It makes me feel like I'm not a proper customer.
With the Olympic and Paralympic Games coming to the city next summer, demand for hotels is going to be at an all-time high. Obviously, disabled people are already having trouble finding accessible hotel rooms. So, in March this year, the Greater London Authority launched Inclusive London, a website listing over 1,500 hotels. 12% have been fully audited with access information, 27% have been audited by the hotels themselves or by a member of the public, and 61% have no access information on the site whatsoever.
One of the important things about access is knowing what you're going to face. I like to know, for example, if a building has lifts that talk in it, if the staff are going to be friendly, if they've got braille menus.
I think that it makes life less certain for disabled people with a whole range of access needs if the audit information isn't there.
Should a site with such little audited information be held up as the GLA's inclusive answer for disabled people?
Are the hotel listings there accurate? Do we know what the access situation is for those hotels? I suspect we don't actually, and I gather that there are some who didn't know they're on the list and didn't know, and certainly don't have the facilities that are required.
So, are all the 61% of unaudited hotels on the website going to be that bad? I've enlisted the help of a group of young disabled investigators to help me find out. I'm here today with my friends the Trailblazers. Formed by the Muscular Dystrophy campaign, their mission is to sniff out inequality in access to places such as cinemas, public transport and going on holiday. But today they're here to sniff out misleading information in our capital's hotels. Trailblazers, are you ready? While my team are off checking out some randomly selected, unaudited hotels listed on the Inclusive London website, I'm going to find one of the few that has a comprehensive listing. There's various accessible feature buttons. There are some for people with hearing impairments, some for visual impairments, but for me I think it's going to be accessible parking, accessible room and accessible toilets. So I think I'm going to book that one right now. While I head off to my hotel, the Trailblazers are out secretly filming their own experiences. Now, many of these hotels themselves aren't making claims about their access. Indeed, many don't even know they're on there.
The ramp itself had various obstacles along the route of it, and at parts it was far too narrow for a wheelchair to even have got through. Plus there was a step at the end of the ramp, which seems to defeat the object because a wheelchair user wouldn't have been able to get in.
Hi there. Looking to stay in a couple of weeks' time. I just wondered whether you had any rooms on the ground level that I might be able to have a look at.
This particular room has a walk-in shower.
Inside it was quite nice, but the only room that they had on the ground level was one of their luxury rooms, which is obviously much more expensive. Their standard rooms you had to go down 2 flights of stairs to get to them, so there would have been no way that a wheelchair user could have got to those rooms.
Well, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have even got into that place. Luckily, mine is quite the opposite. It's got an accessible bathroom, a roll-in shower, a joining room for my PA, and loads of room to get my wheelchair and hoist around. But why is it my room has turned out so well, and the other guys are struggling? Maybe it's because I had a little bit of extra cash to splash on this kind of luxury. This room and its facilities cost a whopping £444 a night. Our research found that 66% of the audited accessible rooms on the Inclusive London website average well over £100. The GLA themselves acknowledge that people with access needs are being pushed out of the budget end of the hotel market, and with less disposable income, this represents a double whammy.
Disabled people's living costs are often higher than other people's for all sorts of reasons. That might be because they need particular kinds of transport and they're more expensive. You might need to factor in that a disabled person has to have a companion, so then they're paying for two people. And it can be difficult if we can't get hotels at the lower end of the price range.
Having spent the past 4 hours investigating the hotels I've sent them to, our trailblazers are now halfway through their task.
We've been filling out surveys and looking at specific criteria, really, seeing if they had accessible entrances, seeing if the staff were courteous, if they had the accurate information available.
We turned up to hotels to find really tight corridors, really small lifts.
Some of the provision wasn't very good. In fact, it was a boat, and for one, it wasn't accessible, but two, it wasn't there. It had been sent to Nigeria, so it wasn't really a hotel at all.
In less than a year, up to 23,000 people with various disabilities will descend on London for the Paralympics, and many of them will need accessible hotels.
I'm not remotely confident that there's going to be the accommodation that will properly meet the access needs of those people.
There are still issues in logistical terms about having so many people and so many disabled people in the same place.
I don't know what will happen with the Paralympic Games, where we may have groups of disabled people wanting to come and stay, and they may not be able to stay in the same hotel with each other.
It's clear to see that there's a lot of fear about what will happen when the Olympics comes to town. So I brought my team back together again to find out the results of their investigations.
The problem was that a B&B has no access whatsoever, no accessibility. It's to have stairs and small bathrooms and small rooms.
So did anyone have any problems with the hotels accommodating your PAs at all?
Turns out that the management actually provide joining rooms, and they said that that should be their policy, but the staff didn't know that and didn't tell us that.
My trailblazers spot-checked 15 hotels, and out of those a staggering 79% were not fully accessible. Now, this evidence is far from scientific, but if our small experiment is anything to go by, there's going to be a lot of trouble next year when disabled people come to the games and find that the hotels they booked aren't accessible. I'm off to the GLA to find out what they have to say about it. If there's 1,500 hotels, is that going to serve the 23,000 people that we'll be visiting for the games?
We're still in the process of analysing what accessible rooms are needed from the ticket sales, because clearly there's information which we need there, and we're analysing through that.
And is it fair to call it Inclusive London if 88% haven't been audited, and many of those ones that we did look at and research weren't accessible?
You can wait forever to get something perfect. The way in which we've had over 5.2 million hits already shows that there is a massive need for information. A hotel that says nothing about accessibility actually tells you an enormous amount about its accessibility. A listing with nothing to it would tell me don't bother to go there.
My fear is that it's the site that disabled people are signposted to, and that then if they're knocked onto other hotel rooms that aren't accessible for their needs, it's going to tarnish their experience of the games next year.
I doubt that very much. I think that really is taking it.
Well, if they can't get in their hotel, they have nowhere to stay.
But that's why they're going there, to find out.
I honestly think that the GLA are hiding from this problem. And with just 10 months to go before the games, well, I really can't see them having enough time to resolve it. The Olympic and Paralympic Games promises to be an amazing event, but we have to ensure that everyone, not just non-disabled people, can come along and enjoy it.